Hi, this is Gia, and you're listening to Stories About You and Me, where we explore the messy journey of self management towards pursuing your goals.
Today we have a guest, and I think you know her from TikTok. She usually creates content about creative entrepreneurship, and it's mostly targeted for young creative entrepreneurs and young professionals in the creative industry. So, if you have questions about anything in the creative world, then maybe you can tap her. Today we have Miss Kia. She's a CEO of Brave Works as well. And we're going to be interviewing her about her journey as a content creator and as a business owner or a CEO. Miss Kia, I'd like to know, how did you begin your creative journey?
Well, Gianna, first of all, thank you for having me dito sa podcast, and I'm happy to be sharing my story. But as long as I can remember, and this is something that I always tell people, na for as long as I can remember, I've always had the creative itch. Ako yung bata dati sa sinehan na gustong pumunta dun sa center stage at sumayaw sa harap ng sinehan. Ganon ako dati.
Yeah.
So, ano talaga, like, I've always had the creative itch. Palagi akong gigil na merong gawin. My first love is music and performing arts. And nung bata ako, lagi akong sumasali sa mga declamation contest, yung mga kaartehan gusto ko dati. That's how my creative journey started. And I'm one of those people who were blessed with parents who were very supportive of what I wanted to do. Pag creative ka kasi, at least in my experience, pag creative ka, parang ang dami mong gustong gawin. Ang dami mong gustong
Yes.
i-try, di ba?
Yes.
if you can relate, ganun. Ang dami mong gustong i-try. And then as you grow older, you begin to be exposed to these realities na, uy, kailangan mo pa rin kumain, kailangan mong kumayod, you need to have a specific path that you can take. The really beautiful thing about how my journey started is that I had the support that I needed from the people that I trusted to get it from. And my family, they were very supportive of me. They were supportive of me pursuing a creative path, pero binigyan nila ako ng guidance for me to vet and to make decisions for myself, na para pag pinursu ko to, alam ko kung ano yung mga iti-take ko into account, things like that. So yeah, that's basically the start. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that kind of start. It wasn't easy. It was very rough.
Yeah.
But we're here.
At how did you start it? Kasi 'di ba ako, mahilig din ako sa mga creative stuff. So, when I was younger, before college, I wanted to take up theater arts naman. Kasi doon makakasayaw ka, makakakanta ka, makaka-acting ka. That's why I pursued content creation in the first place. Kasi I don't feel like I fit in yung typical na 9 to 5 job. Kasi 'di ba, you get to stick with routinary tasks. There's assigned tasks to you, tapos kailangan yun lang yung gagawin mo daily. So kapag ka-creative ka, hindi mo kayang mag-stick to that kind of field. So I realized that, hey, I need to go to a place where I can start content creation and business as well. So, how did you find that path na, oh, ito lang dapat yung kailangan kong i-pursue now? Kasi when you're creative nga, parang there's so many ideas sparking in your head and you don't know kung ano yung isa-start mo. How did you try to narrow it down?
Well, the thing is, I also had to redefine my concept of creativity. And yun yung typical natin na binibelieve na na pag creative tayo, parang yun nga ang dami nating gustong gawin, which was my life before, diba?
Yes.
But in the pursuit of my career, in the pursuit of my business, and in pursuit of our passion and purpose, diba? We tend to find things out along the way na medyo nire-reconstruct and nire-redefine yung the way that we think of our concepts from before. So sa akin, yung creativity kasi, I believe that everybody has creativity. It's just that dahil sa mali natin na concept ng creativity is we tend to believe na hindi tayo creative people. So, for example, when we say na yung mga creatives is only for those who are designers, yung mga performers, yung mga visual artists, ganyan, we don't realize that creativity is also in the accountants. Creativity is also in the doctors. Creativity is also in the engineers. It's just that they use their creativity to fuel different things, to fuel different passions. So if you're an accountant, you're creative with numbers. You know how to troubleshoot your way out of, budgeting and taxes and stuff like that, diba? In order for you to do your responsibilities. So for me, ang dami kong gustong gawin nung time na yon. Because again, my first love was performing arts.
Yes.
And then, yung idea ko dati ng performing arts is pagiging artista.
Ako din ate, yung nasa
Diba?
stage ka, yung ano
Yeah.
ate, yung mga play,
Yeah.
yung play ng PETA, ay nako, gusto kong maging ganun dati.
True.
Gusto kong manta, gusto kong sumayaw, gusto kong mag-perform sa harap ng tao. Kasi
Yeah.
walang ibang way nung time well, Gen Z ako, pero like medyo millennial-ish. 1998 kasi, nung time na yon, di pa masyadong sikat yung content creation.
Mhm.
So gusto mo mag-theater arts, di ba?
Yeah, oo. Nung time na yon, I felt like I wanted to be in theater. Gusto ko mag-pursue ng music nung mga times na yon. But nung high school ako, nag-try out ako, believe it or not. Nag-try out ako sa Star Circle Quest ng ABS-CBN.
Oh my goodness!
And then, syempre ang nangyayari doon is that hindi sila yung nagsabi, but I also auditioned for another parang recording company. And then they told me that my face was not marketable. Diba? Parang, what does that mean? Did you just professionally call me ugly? Parang ganun. but kasi diba, we had that.
Naman nun.
Yeah, we had that standard before na pag for example, hindi ka maputi, parang you're already like 50% out of the question, parang gano'n. So, nung time na yon, parang tinanggap ko na sa sarili ko na hindi ako magiging artista. So what I did was I went into theater, I went into performing arts, nag-choir ako, and then nung nag-define na ako kung saan yung patutunguhan ko sa college, I kind of made an audit of the skills that I wanted to pursue. At ang dami nun. So I had performing, I had music, I had photography nung time na yon. I also wanted to pursue like writing and journalism. So, ang dami kong gustong. And then, what I found was everything converged in film. So I took up film in UP Diliman. And dun sa in my pursuit of film, I fell in love with advertising. And it's also because I met yung cinematography ko na professor. He's in advertising. He's a director in advertising. And namulat ako sa possibilities ng advertising. And then yung internship ko kasi was under Kidlat Tahimik, who's the national artist. So si Kidlat Tahimik, pumunta kami sa Ifugao Rice Terraces and sa Baguio for like 8 days. And nag-learn ako under him. And then he was telling me about yung mga advertisements kasi of today, or the way that people communicate and things like that. Kasi he's very raw in everything.
Yeah.
In the way that he tells his story, sobrang galing. I mean, he's a genius. Sobrang naging in awe ako ng geniusness niya. Genius, ingenuity niya. Ayan. So, that's when I started parang thinking about pursuing advertising, but how can I make it more human-centered? How can I make communication more human-centered? It's because of these two people, Nap Hamir, who was my professor, and Kidlat Tahimik, who was the person that I interned under. So, when those two converged, I found myself wanting to pursue a career in advertising. Wala pa ako dun sa point na, ano bang purpose ko sa buhay? Wala pa ako dun sa point na yun eh. At that
Interest
point,
pa lang.
Oo, parang when I got out of college, na siya. I just knew that I wanted to pursue advertising. Nung time na yun, hindi ko pa alam ang concept ng marketing. I just knew that I wanted to be in advertising. That's it. So yeah, that's how I kind of narrowed things down. It's hindi siya something that I wanted to do right from the start. It's something that I was exposed to, and then I realized, hey, you know what? This is something that I think I want to try.
Actually, ate, when I first saw you on TikTok, siguro mga 18K ka pa lang nun, ate. And then I was seeing your content. Sabi ko, oh my gosh, ang galing niya magsalita. Tapos ang ganda ng boses niya. I was like, I always look at your content. Tapos meron ka mga book recommendations, di ba, minsan about different subject matters. And I would also like to agree dun sa earlier point mo kanina about creativity rin. I also want to note, kasi nanood ako ng The Creative Mind on Netflix. Tapos sobrang ganda nung documentary na yon. Yun talaga yung life-changing. Kasi as a creative individual, akala ko dati yung creativity is just about narrowed down to dancing, singing, performing arts, and visual arts. Kasi that's what we're taught. But growing up, because of that documentary, dun ko na-realize na entrepreneurs are creative. Parang creativity is just about you innovating new ideas. Parang adopting old ideas and then turning them into something new. That's being creative already. So
That's right.
even from whatever industry you're in, for as long as you can innovate new ideas, that's already creativity. So ate, was there a time, kasi let's be honest, here in the Philippines, hindi
Yeah.
supported creative field. Like the first thing that people will tell you is that it's not something that's possible or feasible to do. Kasi that's what I've experienced nung gusto kong mag-college, gusto ko mag-theater arts, but my mom told me na hindi siya practical. Would you like to consider other courses? Which is, for me, okay lang na din naman at the time. Pero makikita mo nga na parang hindi talaga siya nasa area ng options ng mga Pilipino.
Mhm.
Usually, engineers, doctors, mag-nurse ka, yun yung mga top courses na laging pupunta sa minds ng Filipino parents. So was there a time that you were discouraged, not just from your family, because you mentioned earlier na sobrang supportive ng family mo, but the people that you're surrounded with, your environment, and if na-feel mo yun, paano mo na-overcome yung ganong doubts? Kasi high risk eh.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Ang sa akin kasi my parents and it's not just my parents eh. Yung buong family ko before,
Mhm.
we were trained or parang yung kultura ng pamilya namin. These are people who pursued something that they're passionate about. So it's not just even the creative field eh. It's the idea is if you're pursuing something that you have absolutely no passion for, kahit na may pera pa dyan, at best you're going to be mediocre at it. So, ang sa akin kasi, if you're pursuing something that you love, that passion turns into excellence. Kasi gusto mong gawin siya ng tama eh, because you're passionate about it. And then you're also passionate about the problem that you're solving. So, until na-solve mo yung problema na yun, hindi ka nagsistop. 'Di ba? And then you continue to be better and better at your craft. Therefore, you become excellent at it. And when you're excellent at it, people find it valuable. And when people find it valuable, people will pay for it. So
Yeah.
that's the way that I see parang the train of, from passion to excellence to value to success,
Ate,
right?
I would just
So
like to ask something. Kasi that's kind of like a privileged standpoint kasi. But what about artists na hindi privileged enough? Parang they can't sustain themselves, walang magsusupport sa kanila, and the circumstances are rough. How can they start and paano nila ma-overcome and find that courage within themselves, especially when no
yeah.
one's supporting you?
Yeah. I do acknowledge that like that's a privilege of having supportive people around
Mm-mm.
you, 'di ba? But then I had classmates. 95% of my class in high school pursued nursing because that's what their parents wanted,
Mm-hmm.
'di ba? I talked to a lot of them. Some of them wanted to be fashion designers, some of them wanted to be video directors, some of them wanted to pursue something else. Pero nauna yung ano natin eh, nauna yung parang fear of pursuing something that's not practical. Kasi you still have
Yeah.
to put food on the table, right? And
Yeah.
and our parents, I mean, if they're good parents, they just want the best for us. So it also has to do kasi with what conditioned their belief, yung ganon.
Ah, yes.
So for me, if you are stuck in that conversation and you want to pursue something else but they're making you pursue something that you don't like, for me it's finding something in what they're asking you to do. It's finding something there that's going to fuel your own passion. And what do I mean by that? For example, one of my business partners before, COO siya dati ng isang advertising agency. And merong nag-apply sa kanila as account manager na nurse. Nurse yung background niya.
Mhm.
So, ang na-find nila is that in his pursuit of becoming a nurse, he learned to become more empathic. He learned to be passionate about people. He learned how to diagnose. And that all of those skills, he took them and then pinor niya into becoming an account manager. Yung sa transition niya to becoming a creative na pinursue yung passion niya. Yung pursuit na yun, in between, he took the skills that he learned from being a nurse and transitioned that at ginamit niya yon as an account manager. Now, because he was full of empathy, he was very willing to listen to people, he knew his way around people, he became one of the top account managers of that company. So, kasi yung naiisip natin usually when it comes to pursuing formal education or pursuing something that you don't like, feeling natin we're wasting 2, 3, 4 years of our lives just being in this hole here. But what we don't realize is in that pursuit, meron tayong nalo-learn na maa-apply natin sa pag-pursue natin ng something that we're passionate about. And
Yes.
that's needed kasi education is education. You learn skills in different ways.
Yes.
And that's really what I believe. And it also starts with reframing the way that we think about creativity. So if we embrace the fact that we're really creative, whatever it is that we pursue, we're going to learn something from it. And then little by little, when we transition into, pursuing something that we love, magagamit natin yung mga skills na yon. And at the same time, it makes the pursuit more low risk. Kasi may skills ka na eh. May mga skills ka na na magagamit.
Yes.
So yeah, if there's going to be a takeaway from this entire rant, is that if you're in something that you don't love right now, find something that you love about it. And then when you're starting that transition, you want to start small. Paunti-unti lang. It's gonna take a bit of sacrifice, a bit of sleep.
Yeah.
But ganun talaga nagsa-start. Lalo na yung mga nagta-transition, dun talaga tayo nagsa-start. And then we just keep on, you keep being consistent at it, and by and by you're gonna find your groove.
Grabe ate, ang ganda ng anecdotes mo and ang ganda ng stories mo. Parang ako, pag na kaya ako magsalita, makinig na lang ako. Hindi, ang ganda talaga ng anecdotes mo ate. Kasi I think that's one of the things that people don't see. Feeling mo kapag one day, hindi mo na agad nakuha yung gusto mo, wala ka ng chance. But chances are, during my first job, I was actually not talented with it. I had to do administrative work. That's my weakness. Administrative work, hindi ko talaga siya kaya. I'm usually into strategizing, conceptualizing, nandun ako palagi. Pero pag ginawa mo ako ng nitty-gritty details, pinag-schedule mo ko, pinag-email mo ko, mahihirapan ako dun kasi wala akong attention to detail. But then, during that time, I did not know what's it gonna be for kasi I was like, kailangan ko maging nasa creative industry, kailangan kong express yung creativity ko. But then when I got into content creation, everything finally made sense because those skills were built during my first job. As in, I needed to do the emails for the CEO. I needed to do yung scheduling, which I do now whenever I talk to content creators. So those skills, you really learn them sa mga bagay na minsan you don't genuinely enjoy.
Yeah.
And those skills are relevant. And I love that. I love that anecdote ate kasi it reframes your mindset from having a narrow-minded one to something that's more growth-driven.
Yes, absolutely. Kaya dito din pumapasok kasi yung the power of reframing. Kasi yung sitwasyon natin it tends to box us into thinking na hanggang dito lang ako. And then when you start to parang expand your mind to what's possible, parang nakikita natin na wait a minute, there are some things here that fall into place dun sa gusto kong gawin. So if we start opening our minds dun sa if you're stuck for example in a mediocre job that you don't like, what is something that gets you up in the morning apart from the money, of course, apart from the 15:30, di ba? Apart from that, kasi result yan yung income, any kind of income, resulta yan.
Yeah.
So if you don't do a good job, din yan mawawala rin yan. So what is it that gets you up in the morning, inspiring you to do a good job today? So if there's something, at least something in what you're doing, na feeling mo you just don't like the job at all, pero you have to admit that there's something about that you actually like. But if there's absolutely nothing, find a new job. Find something, kasi okay lang naman. I mean, I don't judge people if they want to look for a job that's stable because we need that. Kailangan natin yun. But do your sacrifice, for example, your Saturday night or your Saturday morning in order for you to actively pursue something that you like. So yun, just start small and incrementally yung progress, yung sinasabi nila na progress over perfection, that's very powerful. The 1% rule. Make yourself 1% better each and every single day.
So ate, in relation to that, I would just like to add, grabe ate, feeling ko ate, ito pag naging prof kita, makikinig ako. Wala akong attention span. Legit. Pero pag ikaw yung naging prof, makikinig talaga ako. Pero how do you, ate? Hindi nga. Parang you think differently kasi. Maybe because it's your creativity rin and you've been to different industries then. Kaya ang dami mo ring insights na sobrang out of the box. But I would just like to add, how do you find that satisfaction? Because sometimes, di ba, parang how do you stay courageous about it? Because if
Mhm.
you're a little bit impatient about it, you want immediate results. And
Right.
sometimes if you choose to be practical, it will take years. So how do
Yeah.
you find the courage and the patience for it?
My business coach told me this: play the long game. That's number one. And then the
Mhm.
second thing that he told me is fall in love with the process, stay out of the results.
Mm-mm.
Fall in love with the process and stay out of the results. And that's mind blowing to me. Kasi until now, I'm still learning the art of detachment. Kasi ano yan eh, when you get fixated so much on the results, it feels like it's always a road to failure eh. Parang
Yeah.
ganun. And then you get frustrated if you don't get, for example, 6 figures in 90 days, as many people claim. 6 figures in 90 days, that's a result. But if you love the process so much na pinurpursue mo siya because this is something that Seth Godin wrote in his book called The Practice. Sabi niya, pursue a path that guarantees no result, but you're pursuing it because it's the generous thing to do. You're pursuing it because you feel that it's something that's gonna let you help other people. It's something that's giving you the avenue to serve other people, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it sounds like super cheesy for for many people, but again, when you're in a pursuit of a career or a business, at the end of the day, people will pay for what gives them value. People will pay for what serves them. So
Yeah.
yung purpose mo dapat is to serve other people. So you pursue a process, you fall in love with a process that gives you an avenue to serve. I mean, the earlier that we accept na wala naman talagang path that offers guaranteed success. 'Di ba? Wala eh. Wala eh. Kahit na sabihin mo na meron kang 1530, meron kang natatanggap 1530, 'di ba? It's never a guarantee of success. I mean, companies close down all the time. People get laid off all the time. Things like COVID-19 happens all the time. Well, not all the time, but things like that happen a lot.
Financial crisis. Yeah.
Yeah, financial crisis happens all the time. So there's really no guarantees as to anything. May nangyayari sa atin sa Philippines, that's what we call the massive brain drain, which is people going out of the country because they want to serve something else, diba? Or they want to serve there's no judgment in that, right? But you're not going to find out if you're passionate about something unless you start it. Kailangan mo mag-start, you have to be consistent with it, and in that pursuit, in the course of that pursuit, lalo mong nare-reveal at nare-reveal lang yung purpose mo along the way. For me, that's
I
just the way that
agree.
I think about purpose. It just gets revealed along the way. And this is something, actually, isa sa mga first videos ko na nag-viral on TikTok is when I talked about purpose, about the pursuit of purpose. It's the metaphor that I'd like to use with that is, kunyari nasa dark room ka. Tapos, syempre, sa dark room wala kang makikita. Pag meron kang lighter, meron kang konting glimmer of things that you can see. But then when you get a bigger flashlight, you can see bigger parts of the room. And when you see the switch and then you turn on the light, then you see everything. But the thing is, just because the light was off, it doesn't mean that there was nothing in the room. And that speaks about your purpose. Doesn't mean na wala siya doon. It just means that you weren't equipped yet to see what was inside. And as you pursue something that you're passionate about, all of these little flickers of light, it's gonna turn on, and it's going to reveal the path. It's gonna reveal the purpose along the way. But the thing is, you have to start somewhere. You
Yeah.
have to start with something that you love doing. You have to start with the problem that you're passionate about solving, and then just concentrate on being better in the process and detach from the results.
Ang ganda ng metaphors mo, ate. Hindi ako, ang ganda lang. Wala akong random rant. Mag-aano na. Parang, wow, ang ganda ng metaphor ni ate. Pero hindi, ang ganda talaga ng metaphors mo, ate. I read a lot of books, but your metaphors are really something that's refreshing. And in relation to that, ate, because if you're led into something dark, something
Mhm.
that you don't know where you're being led to, or you have no idea where you're going, or if there are results,
Mhm.
medyo high risk siya for some people. Have you
Yeah.
ever struggled with burnout or languishing? Kasi for artists, I have a lot of creative friends, and one of the things that they usually tell me is that, what if hindi naman ako magaling dito? Kasi maraming mas magaling na artists sa akin.
Mhm.
Have you ever felt that feeling or emotion, and how did you overcome it?
Actually, all the time. I still struggle with the famed imposter syndrome, or kunyari, for example, with the first time that I was approached for a social impact marketing project, and that was in Marawi City. Remember, like Marawi City was besieged. Tapos parang sa isip-isip ko, parang sino ba ako? Wala akong alam about baka merong mas magaling dyan kaysa sa akin, alam mo yun. So, there are so many things like that happens sa akin. And when I approached my business coach about this, ang sinabi niya sa akin, when you are called, you're already qualified. Kailangan mong tandaan yun na when a client calls you, when someone asks you to speak at an event, it means you're already qualified. Ang ano kasi sa atin is that we tend to overthink our own qualifications. And the big part about being a creative is your ability to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Marami yan eh. Kasi uso yan talaga sa mga creatives na na kino-compare natin yung sarili natin sa levels ng iba. But what we need to take note of is that our experiences, our thought processes, our creativities, it was shaped by different circumstances, different from others. So, ang sa akin, the practical part of it, there are so many ways to earn money. There's so many ways to address the practicality issue. Marami yan. And the pursuit, though, of something that you love, it's more, well, I wouldn't say it's more high risk, but it's just that mas prone siya sa takot. Mas prone siya sa
Yeah.
takot ng mga tao. And the reason for that is when we have been trained sa brain natin, na-train na tayo na, uy, yung alam ko, yung iba naging starving artist eh. Or sinasabi nila sa akin, wala namang pera sa art. Yun yung naging training ng brain natin. Yun yung naging parang brainwashing ng brain sa atin. So when we're trying to pursue something new, it becomes our brain's defense mechanism. Parang pinoprotektahan niya lang tayo. Oy, ito yung sinabi ng nanay mo, ito yung sinabi ng neighbors mo, ito yung sinabi ng teachers mo, ganyan. Right? And it's a natural reaction of the brain sa isang pursuit na hindi siya familiar with. And for me, it's just embracing the fear. It's just embracing the fear. Kasi at the end of the day, when you pursue something and then it doesn't work, then you just go back. Kung nasaan ka, yung comfort zone na kung saan nandun ka. And then you go try something again. And if it doesn't work, go back again. And that's the reason kung bakit I actively teach also people to pursue something that they love. If you're pursuing something that you love, and this is something also that my business coach told me, when you're pursuing something that you love, you have a zone of comfort. Nagkakaroon ka ng comfort zone na nandun yung skill set mo. Whether or not makaka-pursue ka ng something else, at least meron kang babalikan dito sa comfort zone na to. So, when you're expanding in that comfort zone, yung confidence level mo medyo nag-shrink eh. The more that you expand. Kasi hindi ka familiar eh. And then, once it expands, ayan na, ito na yung nagiging bagong comfort zone mo. And then you expand again a little bit, hindi siya nag-work, balik ka dito. But you're okay. And then when you start to expand again, and na-find mo na, hey, you know what, this is something that actually works for me. Then your zone of comfort becomes bigger. So, ang sa atin kasi, ang ginagawa natin, yung comfort zone natin, maliit na maliit, and we want to go to the courage zone na sobrang laki agad.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. For us, there's no problem with you starting small. For example, there are so many creative entrepreneurs, kakaaral lang ng Canva, gusto nang mag-charge premium. 'Di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So, kung nag-aral ka dito sa kung nag-aral ka ng Canva in terms of design, and then if you want to expand on your design skills, learn Photoshop. And then after that, learn whatever else, Illustrator or kung ano pa man. And then learn typography. So then you're expanding that comfort zone, you're expanding that skill set. But every time that you feel that something is not going to work, every time you go back to the comfort zone, you're okay. You're surviving pa rin. So you want to give yourself a fighting chance every single time.
Yeah. As a content creator, I would just like to add something else. As a content creator and as a business owner, how do you take care of your mental health rin? Kasi,
Mm.
it takes so much courage to expand your comfort zone. So, what are the ways that worked for you in order to take care of your mental health? Kasi as artists, I think prone yung mga creative people to overthinking din talaga.
Mhm.
So, how do you manage that?
Um, I ask for help. Number one, my husband is my number one sounding board. And then yung immediate family ko, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother. And again, it helps to have a supportive tribe. So if you're not, for example, if you're not getting that from your own family, then go to a community. Go to ang dami ngayon, for example, in sa creatives pala, ang dami mo na makikitang Facebook groups na sobrang gandang
Mhm.
support groups also, right? So for me, it's very important for you to have a tribe, to have a support group. That's important. And number two for me is if medyo nafe-feel mo na talagang medyo hindi mo siya ma-tolerate, if the signals are there, ask for professional help. And that's what I did. Kasi I was also diagnosed with PDD. I have persistent depressive disorder. And it's a real thing. Kasi every time that you're pursuing something, meron mga times na mababurnout ka. Kasi minsan, oh my gosh, hindi ko alam kung ano yung ginagawa ko.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. Or if you're starting to learn, if you're being faced with something that you have to learn agad-agad, nakaka-burnout yon.
Yeah.
So, number one also, hindi na siya number one, number three na pala siya, is for you to take things one at a time. One step at a time. Yan din yung laging nire-remind sa akin ng husband ko. Kasi ganun, until now, it's something that I struggle with. I want to get everything done agad-agad. I want to get everything done. I want to get through my 267 to-do lists for today. But one thing is for you to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. And then if every time that you're going to be faced with results which are unfavorable, you can just always go back to troubleshooting it. Parang, failure is not the end of the world. Failure to get certain results is not the end of the world. You can delay it, you can delete it, you can delegate it, yung mga ganung bagay. Right? So, active steps that I take to deal with my mental health, apart from right now, of course, seeking professional help, palaging isa sa mga isa din sa mga sakit ng mga creatives at mga artists is our pride. So,
Yeah.
ask for help. Okay lang na mag-ask for help, especially from people na mas magaling sa'yo. Right? And that's also one thing. We have to be humble enough to accept, if there are skills that we're lacking. If
I
there are
love
skills
that.
that we're lacking, then we need to ask for help. Kailangan nagko-collaborate tayo eh. And it's also the idea of collaborating instead of competing with one another. So we need to get that mindset into shape. And then the last one for me is yung pinaka nag-work sa akin na concept is for me to answer the call that needs me the most. Kasi laging yan na parang ano yung kailangan kong unahin? Kailangan kong mag-self-care. I'm also a parent. So kailangan ko ba unahin yung anak ko? Kailangan ko unahin yung asawa ko? Kailangan ko unahin yung sarili ko? Ganon. Kailangan ko unahin yung business ko? For me, it's always answer the call that needs you the most. If at this moment my business needs me the most, then yung anak ko kay papa muna or kay tita muna. Right? If my daughter is sick, kailangan niya muna si mama, edi delegate the business first. Kasi kailangan ako ng anak ko. Right? Nagkaroon ako ng emergency, delegate all the meetings first. Or delay the meetings. Alam mo yun? Kasi meron tayong mga decisions na hindi naman natin ikamamatay. So, for me, it's just answering the call that needs you the most. If I need to take a mental health break from TikTok, for example, which I'm taking now.
Yeah.
So, if I need a mental health break, then I'll take a mental health break. Right? So, it's up to us actually to self-assess what is it in our lives that needs our attention the most. And we have to be, parang to give ourselves more grace. Kung nakalimutan mo man to, don't be too hard on yourself. Kung kailangan mo munang i-delay ang isang bagay, don't be too hard on yourself. That's what compromises our mental health. We want to have it all right away. And I'm telling you right now, you don't have to.
Yeah. And Ate, I like the fact that you mentioned yung community because people don't see that a community matters more than you think. Kasi the higher you go, the more that you need help from other people. And building your community can actually help you to decrease the time that you need for your learning curve. And that's what I did for
Mhm.
content creation. If I have questions, I could just tap to people kasi meron kasi tayong propagating na mindset about crab mentality talaga. It's been in our
Mm.
culture, and you don't lose when somebody else
Right.
wins. So people tend to compare themselves to others, pero honestly, parang if you really want to go higher, you need to have a team, or you need people that you can trust along the way. So ate, what concrete steps that you can give to aspiring creatives or aspiring young entrepreneurs in their journey to kickstart kung ano yung gusto nilang i-achieve, or to pursue the path that they want to take?
Well, for me, it's for you to first make an audit of your own skills. What is it that you feel? It's not just about the skills that you're good at. It's about the skills na kahit anong mangyari, wala kang problema na i-pursue siya further.
Yeah.
You're not, yung hindi ka yung walang pipigil sa'yo from learning the skill further. Kasi ang skills natin ever growing yan eh. So, what is something, what is a skill, or maybe a couple of skill sets na you want to be able to concentrate on? What is a skill set that you're willing to build on na hindi ka mawawala ng gana? Okay, no matter what happens, hindi ka mawawala ng gana. Kasi, if you're just pursuing something because nainggit ka dun sa results that it's giving someone else, it's not
Yeah.
it's not a good way to to pursue something, right? So from pursuing a skill that you love learning more of, you want to take into account a problem that you're passionate about solving. So if you already have the skills for it, if you already have the passion to grow that skill, then you also have to have something to channel that skill into. So if you're passionate about a problem that you want to solve, yung mga problema na nag-face sa atin, nag-grow yan eh. So the more that it grows, the more that your skills grow with it. So it's passion for the skill, it's passion for the problem.
I love your tips, ate, kasi it's hopeful yet practical and realistic. Kasi yun yung number one fear ng mga young creatives eh. They want to be, especially yung mga ambitious ones, they want the results. They want somewhere na secured para hindi sila maano. So ate, this is gonna be my last question, but what's the right mindset to start? Like from pricing, from the common things that you commonly hear from people, especially from Filipinos or your environment. What is the right mindset that you need para i-pursue mo yung creative journey mo?
For me, it's always coming from a genuine desire to serve people. That's it. It's as simple as that, because, passion for the skill, it's very internal. Pero the reason why you wanna be passionate about the skill is because you wanna serve people more. Passion for the problem that you wanna solve is it's very self-explanatory. The reason why you become successful is because you're able to solve a problem. And the reason why people find value in you and why they're going to be willing to pay for your services, no matter how much it is, it's because you have the ability to solve their problems. The smaller problem you solve, the cheaper your price. The bigger problems you solve, the more premium your price. So in order for you to get to that level where you're charging more and working less, it's because, number one, na-pursue mo yung skill mo. Naging expert ka dun sa field mo. You're able to spot problems that nobody else can spot. It's because you're already good at what you're doing. You've already spotted the pattern. And that's what creativity is. Creativity is just knowing how to solve a problem in the best way that you know how. I think that's the simplest way that I can think about creativity. Right? So I think that's the most practical, well, not practical, but it's the most parang it's the foundational mindset that you have to have for you to pursue anything. So, number one, creativity is innate. It's everybody's. And then number two, you have to always come from a genuine place of wanting to serve people. That's it.
Thank you for those insights, ate. I think I learned a lot, and I think I'm gonna take notes after this kasi ang dami talaga magandang points that you can apply even outside of being a creative entrepreneur or creative professional. So before we end, ate, I would like to ask, is there anything that you would like to promote?
Well, just follow me on TikTok at Kia Abrera. I'm also on Instagram at Kia_Abrera. We do have a membership for creative entrepreneurs, but right now it's closed because we are trying to recalibrate the system, and we want to be able to nurture people inside for now. So we're going to be opening that again really soon. So yeah, that's it. If anything that they want to learn more about my, if they want to find out more about my work, my website is kia-abrera.com, and that's how you can find more about the services that I offer to help more creative entrepreneurs in the Philippines. Well, creative entrepreneurs in developing countries, starting with the Philippines. So yeah, thank you very much.
So that sums up our episode. Again, this is Gia, and you're listening to Stories About You and Me. If you like this episode, please give me a 5-star rating, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!